Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We see a bunch of people are logging in right now, so we're going to give them just a couple minutes, and then we'll dive in. All right, welcome again to the webinar this morning. Just a couple housekeeping notes before we get started. Wanted to note that we are recording the webinar, and we will send both the recording and the deck out to all of you after the presentation. Additionally, we want this to be interactive and allow you guys to get the most value as you can out of this. So feel free during the presentations to submit questions into the question dialog box, and then we'll address them after Alexandra's presentation. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up directly with you after the webinar. So without further ado, let's get started. My name is Fernando. I'm a sales rep here at Looker. I've been working in the emerging markets for a couple years now, and the most fun part of my job is that I get to work with very innovative companies like Appsflyer. Alexandra Sulovsky has been in charge of their Looker instance for a couple of years now, and I think they're just a really good example of a company that has embraced this idea of data platform and really integrating analytics into everyone's day-to-day job. So yeah, I'm very pleased to be able to showcase how they've done that and give her an opportunity to share lessons learned and best practices, etc. Before I hand it over to her, I wanted to take a couple minutes to sort of provide the context as to why we position Looker as a data platform rather than a BI point solution. So we're just going to cover a couple of the trends that we've seen that we think makes our approach to analytics the right one. So the first of the three big trends is that the amount of SaaS applications that people use to do their day-to-day jobs is absolutely exploding. I know that I've got typically about 10 tabs open with 10 different applications running, and I'm just a sales rep. Number two, everyone wants data, and I'd even go beyond that. Data is becoming a requirement to do your job effectively, so we need to address that as well. And the third trend we see is just that the infrastructure, the ability to deliver on this data platform, putting data into existing workflows, the infrastructure has evolved to a point where it's actually not necessarily as complex as you would think to deliver these solutions. So the first trend, this comes from Gartner. And essentially the takeaway here is that giving people an additional SaaS application to log into in order to look at reports and pull analytics maybe is not the best way forward. Rather, integrating analytics into existing business operations and workflows is really how you enable a data-driven organization to take advantage of the data they collect. So imagine getting email notifications, Slack notifications, having analytics delivered into your CRM, for example, rather than giving people another login and another tool to wrangle. This is from the IDC. Between 2018 and 2023, their prediction is that 500 million new SaaS applications will be created. So the level of complexity around managing all of this is only going to increase. And as we all know, as each department has their own set of SaaS applications, unfortunately, what we're doing is simply creating new data silos. So it becomes really, really difficult to get a holistic view of really any part of the business. You can run into trouble as different departments see different metrics, and it just makes it really, really difficult for C-suite or really anyone to make data-driven decisions. Obviously not the type of behavior that we want to promote. The second trend, just that all professionals need data to do the day-to-day job. In sales, I rely on certain metrics to sort of understand the health of my pipeline, but you can imagine anyone from marketing to customer success is becoming more and more necessary to be able to make decisions with data. Forrester predicted that companies who effectively use data, like Appsflyer, are 178% more likely to grow revenue and 240% more likely to build a competitive advantage. Alexandra will show us how Appsflyer is doing that. And the final trend, I think this will be familiar to all of us, but data infrastructure is evolving. It's actually becoming simpler to set these things up. Databases today are bigger, faster, and less expensive than ever before. That trend only continues to increase. ETL, particularly if we're talking about sort of SaaS data sets, is becoming much more simple. It's becoming this idea of lift and shift tables from wherever they exist into a centralized data warehouse. You don't really necessarily need to do a bunch of transformation during that process in order to make the data valuable. Rather, you can just lift and shift it. And we see that SQL is remaining the standard for analytics. If you're running reports, if you're querying databases, it's going to be structured data. So again, yep, we're removing constraints. We're making it easier to set up this idea of data platform, putting the data where it needs to be. And finally, this is from Gartner. They're just identifying the trend that databases are continuing to become more and more cloud-based. So 75% of all databases by 2023 will be in the cloud. It just provides an opportunity to scale the data sets at a huge level, and then obviously with the ability to run elastic queries, the power and performance of these databases is pretty massive. I think Appsflyer uses a whole bunch of different databases depending on the use case. So we'll let Alexandra sort of talk us through the how and why of the tools they decided to use. So it does sound challenging, but let's hear from one of our best customers about how they addressed these challenges. So Alexandra, I will let you take it from here.
Thank you, Fernando. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra. I am a BI expert at Appsflyer, and I've been working with Looker for about 2 years already. And one of our main responsibilities as a BI team is to provide data and make it available and accessible to all our internal departments. So this is all the BI, this is just for internal needs. And I'd like to talk about how you can get better insight from your big data and tell you a little bit about our Looker journey and share with you the experience and how we did it. So I'll start with Appsflyer. A little bit about who we are and what we do, and then we will dive into the technical part and stuff and talk about our data group and how do we store and collect data. And then we'll talk about the BI team and our needs and how we provide and collect all this internal information, and about our Looker journey and what we've done in the last 2 years. So Appsflyer is a mobile attribution and marketing analytics platform that helps app marketing teams around the world make better decisions. And this means our SDK provides app installation and event tracking functionality, and it allows marketers to measure everything from impressions, clicks, to installs, purchase activity, ad revenue, and so much more. So Appsflyer is placed kind of in the middle between advertisers and agencies and ad networks, and eventually the end users. So basically, we gathering and collecting all the information that's coming up from advertisement, mobile advertisement applications, and collecting it and saving it in our internal databases. So after all this magic and after collecting all this information, eventually our product is a nice dashboard for marketers that contains a lot of extremely important KPIs for their business. We have performance metrics, we have marketing KPIs such as cost, clicks, CPM, CRM, ROI, and etc., etc. And also we give our users the ability to download the raw data and actually to see every tiny event and every tiny click impression or install that will happen during this process. So in order to do that, we need to gather and collect a lot of information. So I won't be diving into the technical part of how our data group does it, but what it's important to understand is we have two parallel data processing processes that actually happening in parallel. So we're collecting the events with the web handlers, and it's coming through Kafka. And eventually, we're storing aggregated data and raw data. So the raw data is coming to BigQuery, and we store every tiny event in every tiniest granularity in our big data. After, of course, some processing and some processes that our data does. And the second parallel data aggregation level is also coming from Kafka. So after this, we're transforming and aggregating the data. So we use Spark, and we save the data into Druid that is aggregated, and then it provides the KPIs aggregated measures. And we store the data also in ClickHouse. This is just for some different KPIs to be available 48 hours of last fresh data. So this is basically how our data group is collecting the data and putting it into databases and storage. And for the aggregated data, we use S3 as our main storage. We'll talk about it a bit later, how we use it basically for our BI needs. So I want to make it a little bit interactive, and I can see you, I can hear you. I have a question, and I'll give you a minute to write your answers and your guesses in the question section. Big data. I mean, we all know what is big data. Everyone talks about big data, but how much is it big? I mean, how much is a big data? So I'd like to ask you if you can guess how many events we're processing on a daily basis. No one? Nothing?
I think
No guesses?
Anya's sending out the announcement. So you should see an announcement in the box there if you want to just submit a response. Any guesses at all? I'm going to go 200 million.
Come on, guys, don't be shy. Just make sure you are listening, you are with us, you are not sleeping. Any guess how many events we're processing on a daily basis?
Is it more than 200 million?
Wow. Yeah, I see answers. Okay, guys, 1 million per second. I'm talking about daily level. Anyone?
I think we could just move on, Alexandra.
Is it yours, Fernando?
No, I was just giving mine.
No, okay. So we have 50 million. We have 1 million per second. We have 10 billion, right?
Yeah.
We have also, this is 1 million. Another guesses, guys? You know what?
Keeping us in
I'll make it
suspense,
simple
Alexandra.
for. I'll make it simple for you. Higher, guys, much higher. 750 million. Okay.
What's the
Higher,
answer?
guys. Higher. Wow, billion. I see billion. Okay, this is 1 million per minute is correct. So okay, I won't keep you for a long time. So the answer, boom. We are processing about 80 billion events on a daily basis. Okay, so I think this is big data. I think those scales, we can really tell this is big data. Yeah, I see 3 billion, yes, nice, but I'm talking about 80 billion events on a daily basis, which are about 70 terabytes of AWS data, and this is also, we have aggregated level, we have raw data level, but about 70 terabytes of daily data. And just in a big query, we are already about 27 petabytes of data. So I'm talking about raw data events that have been stored in the last few years, 27 petabytes of data. And we'll keep growing very fast, so it's about 2.5 times annually growth. So you can imagine how much data we will have after every year of work. So now the big question is, I mean, we have a lot of departments internally. All of them want to make analytics. They want to make better decisions. They want to grow as a company. They want to perform better as a company. So everyone want to analyze this information internally. How do we do it? How can we make billions of rows available for all internal departments to be able to analyze it in seconds or in minutes? Okay, no one will wait hours for query to come back. So a quick overview about our data sources. So we have 3 main data sources for our BI system. We have the BigQuery that is raw data, and we do need it for BI needs. For example, sometimes support need to support the customer and really go deeply to this raw data and query and get to the specific event. We have S3 Parquet files, and we use Athena above them, on top of them, to create tables and to be able to analyze them. So we connect directly Athena to Looker. And we have RDA databases, Postgres. So we collect all internal app information, such as Salesforce, Zendesk, Jira, billing information, a lot of mobile app index for our sales and customer success team to be able to provide a better service to our customers. So we have 3 sources and a different granularity of data. Now, 2 years ago, I evaluated several BI tools, and after after certain POCs and checks, we've decided to go with Looker. As Looker gave us immediately all the solution to all our needs, or almost our needs, and I explained why. So first of all, it's a real-time analytics platform, meaning I'm connecting all my data sources directly to Looker without any data warehouse, any processing in between, and in a minute I'm running the query or sending a query. It's going to the database and give me results. So I really have the advantage here of the engine processing of Google BigQuery. This is a huge database with a huge potential and resources. We have the advantage of Parquet files and Athena, which also can make it very quick to analyze a lot of data. So this is the first one. Second one, Looker has this business logic layer, a modeling layer, which is based on LookML, and it's very SQL-based language, so it's really intuitive and really easy to learn and quick. So you can build on top of your raw data or aggregated data. You can really build a business logic, which is extremely important for different departments, and I'm sure you all understand why. So on top of my data, business logic, and boom, you have KPIs, you have aggregation in dashboards in seconds. Of course, in terms of performance, as I said, this is a real-time connection, so I have all the advantages of my data sources. The performance is great. In addition to that, Looker, of course, gives you a lot of possibilities of caching mechanism, okay, and not sending the query each time you're pressing the run button, but you can also send it like once in a day. You can define triggers which will send the query only if the data was changed. So you have a lot of stuff you can do there. And in terms of permission, what's great in Looker, so we have like 4 types of users. We have different granularity of permissions, not just in terms of what you can do in Looker. You can be a viewer, you can be an editor and a content creator. You can be a developer who is really working with LookerMail and building all this business logic layer. And of course, we have our BI team, we are administrators, so we're providing all the connections, all the permissions, everything, and we're making sure the system is running and everything is performed well. Also, we have a lot of data restrictions options. So, for example, every CSM can
Alexandra? Seems like we may have lost her. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Bear with us. It looks like we have a technical issue. 1 second.
Hello?
Hey, Alexandra. Sorry, we lost you for a second.
Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry, yep. Something hangs up, so I'm now back. I'm here.
Okay. All right, great.
So,
we got you back.
Sorry for that, guys. Something happened here with the connection. So I was talking about different permissions level and different types of users in Looker and different types of data restrictions. For example, data that is extremely sensitive, like billing data, it's all hidden and no one can see it. For example, revenue data. We also can expose some of the data to some users and hide from others. So it's really very flexible in terms of what you can do on your raw data. After we started to work with Looker, we saw extremely great engagement, and we've started to train all our internal departments and really bring them to Looker one by one. So we started just from 3 departments, customer success and sales and product analytics. And now we have almost every internal Appsflyer department work with Looker. We have the finance department and we have support department and even learning and development department just joined us recently, HR department. So we're collecting information from all our internal applications, saving it to database and bringing it to Looker. We've also created an internal documentation and training, and we have like onboarding training for new employees that's really very nice and interactive that explains what is Looker, how to use it, and we have different types of training, whether if you are a viewer or if you want to really create content and dig to the data and create your own dashboard, or maybe you want to be a developer. So you really have to learn LookML and how to work with Looker. And also, I want to mention that our BI vision is to provide self-serve BI. Okay, as Appsflyer is a very data-driven company, we have analysts in every department that really supports that department and know exactly what are the most important KPIs for this department. So basically, all our Looker developers, they are analysts working with different departments and working on different content, different dashboards. So this is very convenient for us as a BI team. We really don't create dashboards and don't create reports. We just make sure the data is available and accessible to Looker. And then the analysts take it from there and they're creating all the content. Also, we do some, I forgot to mention it before, but we do some Spark jobs behind the scenes just to aggregate the data a little bit more than we have it, just in terms of performance, because for manager and C-level, we don't want them to wait for dashboard for a couple of minutes, so we are aggregating the data to the level of the most needed KPIs without any additional information that they don't need, and it's coming back in seconds. So we do have some ETLs behind the scenes of taking data from one source, aggregating it, and putting it to Looker. So currently we have about 30 analysts that are developers and work with Looker. And the adoption rate is really, it's amazing. We have 550 users and about more than half of them are explorers. So they explore the data, create dashboard, create content. We have more than 500 dashboards and this is insane. I mean, I see the numbers growing up every day. This is really, it's insane. And we have more than 2,000 looks already. And those numbers keep growing. Another one nice thing that we have in Looker that really helps us as a BI to monitor the system and make sure it's working properly. So we have the performance monitoring. This section is automatically comes with the product. So you have the ability to see everything that's going on. For the lowest granularity possible, you know exactly how many users you have, how many querying users you have, how much queries running per minute, per second, per every time you want to know. You can divide this information to different departments, group, users, to different data sources. I can see what data source really doesn't perform well. If I have performance issue, I can monitor all the queries that are running and coming from Looker to databases. I have a complete user performance monitoring and complete content performance monitoring. So I can really see what's going on in the system. I don't need to prepare any specific analytics for that. And what's great, I don't really need to go to this Looker instance and see the logs and see what's going on. I'm getting it in a nice dashboard and where I can see everything. Now I want to, everything is great, everything sounds perfect and good, but, as in every project we face a lot of challenges, and I do want to mention those challenges and to show you how we've managed to work them and solve them out. So in Looker, you can't really join between different connections, meaning I can't join data that comes from BigQuery with data that comes from Athena. So as we started to grow and all departments have started to want data in Looker, and we started to connect a lot of different sources to Looker, we want to join this data. Salesforce, for example, sitting in RDS, in small RDS, but I want to be able to connect it to our traffic data. I want to be able to see which account, which customer really has what advertisers they're working with, what partners they work with. So I want to be able to join this data to really see the whole picture. So So how do we do it? So we managed to solve it by, as I mentioned, running the Spark jobs behind the scenes and running some ETLs. So the ETLs we have two purposes for them. One is to really even the performance. We want to make the performance even better that we have it. I mean, querying 27 petabytes of data, it's very challenging, and you can wait a long time, even for BigQuery. And also, if you want to do some trends and query some a lot of year-over-year KPIs or month-over-month, it could be really a lot of data. So one of the purposes of the Spark Jobs ETL, we're really aggregating the data to more aggregated level to make the performance better. So this is one. And the second one is, so we really could join between different data sources. So we take data from one source, we join it in the Spark ETL, and we're putting it in a different bucket on S3. So we have joined data from two different sources, even three different sources, and then we bring it back to Looker. So this is a little bit of maintenance work, but eventually we do really have all the data combined together, and it could really make a lot of sense and a lot of help to our internal departments. Another challenge that we had almost immediately once we started to work with Looker, some of our managers asked for a really certain visualization that he wanted to see, and we don't have this type of visualization in Looker. But as Looker is so much flexible platform, we found a partner that in 2 days created for us custom visualization, and this is something that really a lot of users do, and we found a lot of online free custom visualization that the user created and put it in GitLab, and it's really easy and it's very quick. So 2 days, we have custom viz, it's really 2 clicks, import it into Looker, and boom, you can really create something that is not out of the box. This is something that is really specific to your company's needs and to your users' needs. So it's really amazing, and I think in 1 or 2 weeks we had completely full answer to those needs, and we had a complete solution. And this is just an example of finding workarounds and finding some flexible things to look that you can really do that aren't coming from the box. So this is just an example of this custom viz. This is a table. We have like a reverted pivot table when we have all the KPIs on the left side and all the months on the columns. So this is not part of the box visualization from Looker. We really picked up the theme, the colors, everything, and now, as you can see, it really looks like a part of the tool. So no user will ever know that it's something that was imported or created aside. Let's skip. This is a technical part of the custom viz. We added some edit options that we hadn't have in Looker, like columns width and sort options and drills and tools. So I won't be diving into this technical part, but it's really possible to do it. And this is it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Alexandra. Excellent presentation as always. So yeah, any questions from the audience, please submit them into the box there. A couple that have been submitted already, Alexandra, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Someone was curious about how you decided between tools initially. Like, what did the POC look like? What were the stress tests that you performed on the various tools?
Yeah, sure. So we've evaluated Tableau, Looker, and Sisense as our BI tools. So the POC went, I've prepared a data set, and we had like a 3 level of this POC. I've prepared a smaller data set that we're that were about 1.5 billion rows. And this is just one of our Kafka topics that is extremely important, and I knew that it will be like the first data source to analyze, and it will be the most requirable one. This is our lifetime value data. So the aggregated one was 1.5 billion rows, and I put it in a test, this data set, in those three tools in parallel, and I did basically the same. I've tried to connect all our data sources to this tool because I know we need this ability, and I tried to analyze those 1.5 billion rows. And eventually it really worked out just with Looker. As you all know, Tableau is an in-memory tool, so we couldn't really load 1.5 billion rows to Tableau, and also Cyson had the 2 billion limitation, and the 1.5 billion worked well, but then I stepped into a second part of the POC that had a different Kafka topic and a source that were about 60 billion events. And this is the real data. So we tested the second one, and we remained with two tools, Cyson and Looker, and then I took it to a second level, which is a 60 billion event. And then basically we run the same test to try to analyze it, and Looker was basically the tool that could handle all this amount of data because it's a real time.
Cool. Thanks for that. Let's see, another one. I guess you sort of touched on it in the presentation, so maybe the question came before you got to it, but just like a summary of the biggest challenges, or maybe a top 3 challenges that you faced, and maybe sort of how you overcame them.
So one of them, and I'm still challenging it, is a really huge growth of Appsflyer workers and the company growth. So I started to work 2 years ago with 4 analysts, and we had like a small community, and we've shared all the information, and I know exactly what's going on in all the LookML and modeling and everything. And currently we have 30 analysts, and it became insane, and I really don't have the ability to understand and to know exactly what's going on. And also, you need to train analysts to know to work with LookML and to work with Looker, and to really remain this it's not a balance, but I would say to really remain everyone to work in the same like working process, and to create like one source of truth for everyone, so data will be aligned. So it really requires for us as a BI team to support those analysts, and it really requires time. You need to support them, you need to train the users, you need to show them how to make it right, how to work right, and you need to explain them what you have, what you had. So it's a challenge, but we do it constantly, and we, new analysts that coming to the team, so the analysts that already work with Looker, they are training them, and we are trying to support them as much as we can.
Great, thanks for that. I guess as a corollary, how do you decide who works in like the LookML data model versus the self-service versus just content consumption?
So the baseline is every analyst, they are almost automatically become developers. We're asking them to do the LMS training that we have, and we're asking them to go through the video tutorials. By the way, Looker has online video tutorials that you can just take in the web, see tutorial, and really start work with Looker. So we ask them all to pass this training. Also, Looker has an amazing online support chat, and we do encourage all the analysts to work with this support chat to also help us, to maintain more people and to help them. When you can basically start chatting, type your problem, and the chat will help you. So as I said, analysts are mostly developers, almost automatically, and then basically we give the users the ability to decide who you want to be. You want to be just a viewer? That's okay, fine. You want to be an explorer? You want to dig a little bit more to the data? That's fine. I mean, we are opening access as much as we can just to make it a self-serve BI for them as much as possible.
Excellent, thanks. Couple more questions. I think we still have 5 minutes. Do you have a team that's responsible for governance of the data and ensuring consistent definitions of data? Someone that's maintaining perhaps a business glossary or a dictionary?
The governance of the data. Our data team, the data platform data team, they're responsible for the data to come through the web handlers and going through all this technical process and coming into the end databases. So I think they're responsible for the governance of the data and accuracy and really ensuring all the definitions of the data. This is for the technical side. I mean, to make sure every event will go to our database and we won't lose anything in between. So for the technical part, this is data group. For the business layer, I think the other analysts, because they are really working with the business model layer. As you know, you can really change the data and you can really change the number by changing the business layer, by adding joins, adding calculations. So I think this is their responsibility to make sure they provide an accurate data.
Great, thanks. And we've got
I
just
hope that
one more.
Covers.
Yeah.
Hope that covers the question.
I think it is interesting that like the data engineering team and the analyst team can sort of collaborate on that piece when you've got a data modeling layer in there. So it's interesting to see how you guys address that and where the responsibilities lie. Just one final question. I think this goes back to when you were talking about the POC. Someone wanted to know who was involved in that process. Obviously, you as the person in charge of the tool, but what other business users, what other business units were involved in the evaluation phase?
No one, just us.
Oh, just you. Perfect. That keeps it easy.
Just simple as it. No one, just us. You know, as I said, we're really a data-driven company, and we really have like a huge data community here. But as I mentioned before, once we started 2 years ago, we had just 4 analysts in product analytics team, and that's all. And we didn't really have a lot of customer success operations and sales operations, what we do have now. So basically, it was our responsibility as a BI team to provide a solution. We didn't have any visualization BI tool before, so it was just starting from scratch, starting from nothing, and decide, pick up, and of course connect all the data, and etc. etc.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I guess, when you have less cooks in the kitchen, it's easier to make decisions, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like that's the approach you took.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So I think we'll wrap with that. As I said before, we'll send out the presentation and recording, and if anyone has additional questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you all very much for attending, and Alexandra, special thanks to you.
Thank you so much, Fernando, and thank you all for listening.
Absolutely. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.